guys, welcome back to EAK TV. I'm delighted to have Priscilla Parker with us today. Priscilla, how are you?
I'm fine, thank you.
So Priscilla Parker is one of the senior partners in one of the leading law firms in Malta. How are you enjoying Delta Summit so far?
I think it's a very exciting conference. There are many people from all around the world and from various industries, be it the tech industry, be it the blockchain industry, be it the crypto assets specifically industry, be it the gaming industry, so it's very, very vibrant.
So obviously Malta is now positioning itself as definitely the European leader of blockchain in the EU. What unique aspects of the law in Malta helps position it as that?
I think the uniqueness of the law is the fact that it's definitely the first one in the EU. And secondly, the fact that it is very much based on laws which we've had already. However, within a framework which allows this new industry to flourish and to allow the ecosystem to be based here on the island in a very business-friendly manner.
What role did your law firm play in the development of the regulatory framework in Malta?
Well, we have been involved in the industry for the last 5 years. We were the first firm to launch the first exchange here in Malta at that time. So during the years, then we gained more and more experience, and even in dealing with the authorities, we could recount to them what is actually happening in the industry abroad. After that, and after the government had actually pronounced itself that it was going to make Malta the blockchain island, then we were also involved in all the consultations that happened here. And we have been discussing specific aspects of the law with the authority directly.
And what do you think other regulators across the EU and across the globe can learn from the Maltese approach?
Malta being quite a small island means that it is very flexible in its regulatory approach, but also its industry approach. So having a regulator which is very close to the industry, which understands what are the requirements of the industry, is definitely a winning factor for the island. And I think this should be something that the other jurisdictions emulate and that the other authorities should also aim to become.
So obviously I understand your law firm is international, not just Malta. Which other countries out of interest do you think could be next in terms of regulating blockchain?
Well, we're based in a number of countries, including London, Hong Kong, Zurich, and even Cyprus, which is actually one of the larger offices. I feel that going forward, other jurisdictions will want to regulate blockchain, saying also that it's going to be the next technology in all the industries. We've seen clients hailing from all the offices and getting a particular interest in Malta, so I think other jurisdictions will follow suit. Definitely the more flexible jurisdictions will have an advantage over the larger, more heavy, robust countries which will need to adapt then quite quickly, because otherwise the regulation will become obsolete once the technology is so fast.
And how much interest have you seen peak since the new regulatory framework has passed?
The interest has increased, I would say, exponentially. So once the government did its announcement last year and it started issuing, the authorities started issuing consultation papers, then it increased by the week, I would say. So we've seen operators with a variety of business models, hailing from all kinds of industries, being mining, being retail, technology. So it's increasing as we speak in reality.
And what do you feel is the most important part of the regulatory framework for businesses considering moving to Malta?
I think the most important part is the fact that there are different industry players who will help to safeguard Malta's reputation, but at the same time assist the industry players in establishing themselves here and also flourishing here. So for example, one of the main players in the industry will be the VFA agent, which is mainly a role which will be held by the lawyers and accountants here in Malta. And the VFA agent will not only act as a gatekeeper here on the island in order to make sure that only reputable industry players come to the island, but we have another role, that of actually showing them how they can use the local regulation in order to set themselves up here, and also to educate the industry at large how blockchain can be used going forward.
Do you believe Malta can become the Silicon Valley of blockchain?
I've had this comment already a number of times from clients. I've had someone saying that all the Silicon Valley players will be coming over. So I think with the trust that we've had during these past months, yes, it could be a possibility, and we're looking forward to that.
Okay, so let's fast forward 10 years. We're still sat here. What do you think Malta will have achieved in the blockchain space?
I think apart from blockchain, we might have many other technologies by then. So we have the advantage of having a law which provides also for other technologies. So the Innovative Technology Arrangements Act was actually drafted with the intention of not only regulating blockchain, but also opening it up to other technologies which might come up in the future. As you probably know already, the authority has been already set up. In fact, the chairman has addressed the audience today as well, and they are ready and open to other technologies which might come up in the future. I'm sure that in 10 years' time we will be discussing very different models of doing business, and that the technology would have infiltrated all areas of our life, in fact.
And these other industries, AI, IoT, any others?
I would say any type of industry, be it traditional or be it new industry, because we are seeing many uses for the technology itself. So I believe it will be the next new thing.
So what do you think Malta has learned from its experience in the gaming industry, and how does that inform their approach for the blockchain space?
Well, Malta from the gaming industry has learned quite a number of things, be it the facility with which cross-border transactions need to be conducted. The online world is obviously something which is at the core of the gaming industry. So definitely that experience will benefit the island in order to be more prepared for what is yet to come in the coming years.
Okay, and from a legal perspective, how can Malta help drive mainstream adoption?
I think helping the technology to become mainstream is at the core of the law. I think eventually once there is more experience in the industry and the authorities seeing how it's operating here, there will be even more flexibility. So right now we have rule books which are quite extensive. They need to regulate the industry maybe more stringently at the start, but eventually once it becomes more mainstream, more adopted, and we'll be using it in our everyday lives, inevitably it will have to get to a stage where it needs to be in line and up to the expectancy of the efficiency and the timeliness which we will need in order to operate with it.
And finally, what sort of new projects are you currently engaged with?
I would say a multitude of new projects. So every project is very different. Everyone is trying to come up with new ideas of how they can structure their tokens, their coins, how they will start offering a new service, how they will bring the parties together. We're seeing a number of intermediaries which have come up with very interesting applications to very traditional industries. So just to mention an example, in the financial services industry, we've seen FCA regulated entities who had no interest in going into this new world, actually finding intermediaries who wanted to bring together the traditional financial services operators with investors who already have crypto assets in hand and would like to access funding through the financial services operators.
Interesting. And obviously, as you mentioned, there's been a big spike in, I assume, inquiries, for your firm. How has your business managed to adapt to the spike of inquiries?
Well, I would say that we had foreseen this. So we were quite lucky to set up a team before the actual spike happened. So we've trained our people much before. We have a compliance team who is looking at all the operators and all the applicants very, very intensely. And we have our advisors who are advising on the different business models. We're quite lucky to also have a CEO who is from the technological industry, so he's able to guide the teams accordingly.
Okay, well, thank you so much for your time. That's EAK TV, that's Priscilla Parker. Thanks for joining us.